Well, part two of Has Romance Died? That's what we're dealing with this morning. And I don't believe romance has died. I just believe that something dies in relationships, or we get too busy and occupied with things, and we don't see that romance is not a vital part of everything we have to do in life: earning a salary, making money, building a house, getting a new car, getting the kids to school, and all these things. And if you missed last Wednesday's, please watch it. It's very important. And we spoke about honor and respect, what it is to respect each other, honor each other. And that, to me, is the start of romance. You want to be romantic, honor each other, respect one another. We looked at that scripture from Peter, where it says, husbands, be considerate to your wives, honor them, treat them with respect. And if you aren't considerate to your wives, well, your prayers won't be answered. That's so powerful. And I'm sure every man wants his prayer answered, and every woman wants her man's prayers answered. So we just see how important it is. And this morning, I want to just continue in that vein for a little bit. And in a week or two, we're going to get onto some real romance games, and we're going to have some fun and throw out some challenges to you. But just in honoring and respecting one another, to me, is the basis, the foundation to have a romantic marriage and to have romance in your marriage. And like I said last week, you mentioned romance, or the woman thinks something out here and the men are thinking something very different way out there. So we got to bring it together. And the thing is, if we both play our part, romance can really be a priority in your marriage without you even having to put effort in. And as we spoke last week of honor and respect, I'm carrying that through because part of honor and respect is how you look at each other and what you say to one another. Words are so powerful. God's word teaches us that there's the power of life and death in our tongue. And to be slow to speak, to think about what we speak, what we confess, we'll get. And words are just so powerful. And in thinking about words, which sometimes the men, and not always, we have a percentage of men who are very flowing and romantic and expressive with their words. But often, just like saying, I love you. Unfortunately, in the English language, we have one word for love. Oh, I love my dog, I love my cat, I love a holiday at the sea, and I love my wife. It's like, she's bundled up in that lot. Or I love my husband, bundled up in that lot. In the Greek, in Hebrew, there were many words for love, but it's how we express our words that carry such weight to bring us into a good place to be romantic and have romance. For example, how do you often tell your wife or husband, I love you? That's it. We say, well, I love you. Well, have you ever thought, especially men, to tell your wives who'd love to know how much you love them? Or what are you saying when you say, I love you? And as I shared last week, the first course I went on to, I think it was last week, about how to be expressive as a man towards your wife. I thought, these guys are nuts. But you know what? It worked. And I'm going to be sharing some things from Songs of Songs or Songs of Solomon this morning with you. Are we really expressive in our words? If you say to your wife, I love you, do you say, man, yeah, I love you so much. I just couldn't bear the thought of not being with you. I love you so much that sometimes when I look at you, my knees get weak. And when we're together holding hands, I just feel like I'm diving over the moon into the Milky Way or something. You're going to think this pastor's nuts. But you know what? We are so restricted with our expression of feeling. And actually both husband and wife want to know what the other one feels. And we often don't really express that. We do express anger when we feel angry. And I'm sure you can all say yes to that. when you're angry, you're not short of expressive words. You this, you that, you this, you should have done this, blah, blah, blah. And you bring in all the adjectives that you shouldn't. And yet when it comes to sharing our affection and love, somehow we're so limited. And a lot of people don't like the Songs of Solomon or think, well, I remember I heard a story of a man who read halfway through Songs of Solomon, tore out his Bible and said, this should not be in the Bible. Well, it is in the Bible. And I just want to give you a little background. And there are three theories of interpretation with the Songs of Solomon. One is Solomon is identified with God, and the Shulamite, the woman, with Israel. This, in view, the song is an allegory of the love relationship between God and Israel. In the literal perspective, the experience of Solomon is the basis of this poem and provides God's teaching on marriage and sexual relationships. The typical interpretation takes the poem as reflecting Solomon's actual experiences and stressing the major themes of warm human emotions of love and devotion. In the Old Testament text, it typifies God's love for Israel. And in the New Testament context, it's paralleled with Jesus' relationship with the church. And we can do a lot of references to that. I just thought I'd give you that as a background. Now, often when people start reading Songs of Solomon, they say, really? How can you compare someone to apples and the hair like goat's hair and all that? You must remember the context in which it was written, the day it was written, and those things that were expressed with things of value and importance to everyone. And many years ago, we used to sing a song that he brought me into the banqueting house, and his banner over me is love. For love waved listen to this, for love waved as a protecting and comforting banner over my head when I was near him. Now that's from Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 4. I want to read it to you again. This is what she's saying. He brought me into his banqueting house. His banner over me was love. Imagine that. Someone comes in to her husband and she just feels his banner over her. This protection over her is love. And it said, for love waved as a protecting and comforting banner over my head when I was near him. Just amazing words and Songs of Solomon. I know to us in our current world in 2020 might seem strange, but read it, study it, draw something from, learn to express your feelings. You know, when I do take people through counseling before they get married, and we get to a certain stage of the counseling, I get them to read this, and I have a little card with it on that. I then give it to them and encourage them to read it every now and again to their wives, husband to their wives. And most times, if the husband's read it first and then says it sincerely to his wife, most times I've seen the wife or the wife-to-be get tears in her eyes, and it just does something to the heart. First of all, men are called to wash their wives with the word. And secondly, the word is powerful, and it is incredibly beautiful. So I want to read it to you this morning. It says, hear this. This is from Songs of Songs, or Songs of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 9 to 15. You have captured my heart, my treasure, my bride. You hold it hostage with one glance of your eyes, with a single jewel of your necklace. Your love delights me, my treasure, my bride. Your love is better than wine, your perfume more fragrant than spices. Your lips are sweet as nectar, my bride. You are my private garden, my treasure, my bride, a secluded spring hidden in a fountain. You're a garden fountain, a well of fresh water streaming down from Lebanon's mountains. And you know, just on Monday, I met with a couple who've been married a number of years. They've got a teenager already, and they love the Lord. They love God. They serve God. And we were talking. I happened to have some of this info with me about something we were discussing. And I said to him, won't you read this to your wife? And he read it. And you know what? The wife just got tears in her eyes, and the tears started running. I want to tell you, husbands and wives, be creative. Express your feelings in words. Today, on WhatsApps and stuff, man, you hardly learn to express yourself. Never mind spell. You can't even spell anymore. But WhatsApps are so abbreviated and short and abrupt, and we're losing that power. And I remember one man said, yeah, but I send texts to my wives, and she says, oh, thanks. And then I said, do you mind reading something to me? And he read, and I said, you know what? I wouldn't even thank you for that. Because it's, hi, babe, how you doing? Love you. Yeah, maybe it means a lot, but you know what, hey? Why don't you learn to be expressive? Why don't you learn to express your feelings? You want good romance. Tell your wife how beautiful she is. Tell her you love to gaze in her eyes. It just does something to your heart. And ladies, you can do this to the men too. And speak words that express your feelings to your wife. And you will see how romance will start to increase. So this morning, short and sweet, I've got a lot to say on this, and we'll be covering some of this in each of the next Wednesdays. But can I say, watch your words. Try and express your feelings. Try and tell your spouse exactly how you feel. And you know, if you can't, then can I say, man, if you can speak and you can read and you can write, find out. Think about what you can say to make your wife feel good. And I want to close off with this. Sometimes it's good not to text, not to WhatsApp, not to any of that stuff. But sometimes write a little note. But don't just say, hey, honey, I love you. Can't wait to get home tonight. You know, then your wife thinks, oh, wow, can't you wait to get home tonight? Tell me you love me, why? Sit and write, I'm writing this because you are my treasure, my bride. And just write a short little note. Just let it, don't think. Let it flow from your heart. Leave it somewhere where she can find it, or leave it somewhere where your husband can find it. And you'll be surprised what it does to you. You know, one day at work, when I was still working at AEC, Tish used to make my lunch, Tish, my wife, and I was going through a bit of a rough period at work. And as I took a bite of my sandwich, I thought, what is this inside? And I pulled this out, and in Glad wrap, in my sandwich, she'd written me the most beautiful, romantic thing. And I'll tell you what, it just made my day. I felt like I wanted to pack up and just go home and be with her. But you know what? It just made my day. It refreshed me. And it just did something in my heart. And I just wanted to respond with words of feeling and affection back to her. But you know what? What you sow, you will reap. So I pray both men and women, some women battle to be expressive. Mainly men. Work on it. Speak words of beauty and love, just like Solomon did. And you will see. You won't have to look for romance. Romance will be on your doorstep. And I trust that you'll do this. I trust you'll be blessed in your marriage. And I trust that romance is going to just come in and just play a vital part in your marriage, cementing you together and leaving a legacy for your generations to come. So God bless you. Have an awesome day. Trust you'll join us on Sunday. Until then, be blessed.